some of the candidates spoke briefly on the homeless issue. That's something that's growing every year in Madison County. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And I know that we tried to do some things because we moved them from one camp and out of there, where you were down by the river, down by Dawson's Garage, and they just moved someplace else. And they're going to different parts of the county now. It's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And a lot of it has to do with mental health. What I would ask the panel, I mean, like I said, several of you touched on, is a commitment, because just the prosecutor's office, just the sheriff's department, just the council, and even at the state level, you can't do it by yourselves. You're going to have to get with the communities in Alexandria and Elwood and Chester, wherever, because it's going to take those bodies also to everybody come together and work together to try to get this solved. And I don't think it's ever going to be 100% solved, but it sure is out of control now. It's not going to get any better until people work together. And I'd like to have your commitment to work on that jointly.
Most certainly. That is the reality that we face with a lot of the lower crimes that we deal with. I understand you're asking just about homelessness. Obviously, we come into contact with it when they are charged with crimes, and that's our own real direct involvement. But Brian Bell brought up a good point, which is something I've been immediately involved in, is the use of our opioid settlement funding in the jail. So not only will we have a jail facility with the actual kind of capability that we need for incarceration here in Madison County that we've needed for about 20 years, but with that, it's not simply just putting people in jail. We will have real rehabilitation programs for folks in the Madison County Jail funded out until about 2038 from opioid settlement funding. To receive actual treatment at the Madison County Jail, which is something that is both challenging from a funding standpoint, from the space. They simply do not have the space or the ability to do these things in the Madison County Jail as it is right now. But I know we're all excited, and I can't imagine anybody would be willing to be participants in that and looking towards making real progress here in Madison County.
We, this year, we passed Senate Bill 285, which I think Lloyd will have an impact on that. It's not going to be the end-all solution, but it requires, it allows law enforcement another tool to try to get somebody in front of some help, and tries to move these homeless where they set up their tent and you make a move, and if they don't, you eventually you give law enforcement a tool to refer them to some mental health.
Isn't that the elimination of the camps?
Yes, it's that's the main focus, is to try to target some of these tent cities. Yes.
What else?
So there's got to be a factor here of where are we going to get providers to help treat a lot of these individuals, and how are we going to identify them from what's real and what's made up. A big thing I would probably ask the county, and this is something I would move to, is setting up rotation where you can bring in students who are actually in college or wherever, and they are from here, because most likely those people will return back to their home base if they're educated. So when I did missionary work in Haiti, I've been with a physician, he's been coming here for 17 years. It was my first time ever going there. And I said, what do you want to see change? And he said, let these people take care of themselves. So I went to the local hospital. We found a physician who was actually from that area. And then we had another kid who was from that area. And a year later, we signed a contract. We haven't been back to that area since, and it's been almost 15 years. And that's what you want to invest. And I think the greatest thing is bringing people so they have a good understanding of what they're going to be invested. You're guaranteeing them a job when they come out. Plus, you've got that extra clinical work. It's not easy to have the students. But I would be looking for those people who are going to go on for psych nursing and other things. And maybe you can help them with some tuition reimbursement if they stay with you. The biggest problem is we just don't have the providers to help you guys get to where you need. And then we have to look at the medications and things to be cost effective and keep those low. So there's lots of things that I think can be done, but these guys are in a never-ending battle because they are missing an intricate piece. And that's where we get the providers and the help and the medicines to help these people. So you're gonna have to find that bridge, and that's something I can bring to the table. Clearly, I have a very successful practice for over 10,000, people that come from all over. And we seem to be getting this done on a cost-effective way. We offer a cash pay at 40% discount, so that people can have affordable care, can afford insurance. So that's the reality that they have to look at.
Yeah, and hasn't the healthcare nationwide, the availability for it is really dropping. I personally been in this issue with a family member of my life. So it is a concern issue for me, and more exactly why. It's going to take buy-in from all police departments, all municipalities, the sheriff department. I think the law you're talking about, Senator, is the CDC, correct?
I don't have it right.
I'm pretty sure
it
it
is. It is a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and I personally, putting somebody in jail and speed misdemeanor is not solving the problem. It's just not. I sure got really frustrated. I retired at 22. And our calls for mental health has skyrocketed for years. Every single day, the county through mental health. Those are our responsibilities. Every single day. And so many times, health providers would be frustrated. Why did you just didn't get help? It was a huge frustration for me, and I know all of that. There's got to be something put together with everybody involved in healthcare, because it is a problem. I'm in business in downtown, it's a problem.
One of the last interactions that I had with a homeless person, and he was just by himself, wasn't even in income. The big problem that he had is he didn't have any ID. He was unable to prove who he was. He didn't have any birth certificate, and he said, "I want to find a job," but he was, no one will hire him. I'm like, well, you have a point. I said, well, where are you born at? He's not from here. He's just a traveler. I said, how long have you been traveling? He said, 10 years. I said, so 10 years you've been homeless? He goes, yes. And I was like, he was a very, very nice man. And you're like, how else can we help you out? The best we can do is drop them off at the Christian Center. And hopefully they'll give them back to the community that they came from, but maybe they'd be able to get a birth certificate or something. But, this would seem like he was educated. He seemed, in fact, he brought his books with him so he could read and have something to do when he's out traveling.